Hey guys, I know we ran out of time today and I was trying to do way too much, way too fast, and had some settings all messed up from some of the other things, so I thought I'd finish our discussion and show you how to make those evil eyes, or at very least how to do some basic color change with masks. So here's the girl we were dealing with earlier. We've already cut her out. We can put her on whatever we want her to be on. But if we want to add something to her, for example, if we want to just work with her eyes, what we would do is zoom in, highlight the sections, in this case her eyes, and I'm using the color or the quick select tool as we talked about in class. And then with those selected, go down to our layers. I'm going to blow these up just so we see them. And choose our adjustment layer for hue and saturation. This is the one I like to use because it can really make those colors pop. Now, we've created an adjustment layer for hue and saturation. We can always change that name if we want to something like eyes. Yeah, let's call that. Now, we can really make them pop by increasing the saturation. Remember, this is how much color is in that particular object. And we can adjust the color here. So if we want those evil eyes, we can really boost them with saturation. Choose something that gives us a red tone. And then adjust the lightness to really make them dark or stand out. And how about that? Now she's got those bright red eyes. Pretty cool, huh? Now, you don't necessarily have to make your selection first in order for this to work. We can still work with masks and do some really interesting work on a subject, and it looks really good. What we're trying to do is not just paint on a subject. That a lot of people may try and do it first with just the paintbrush and adjust opacity and all that, and it just never quite looks right. What we're trying to do is basically overlay a color scheme on this person. In order to do that, what we could do is, again, select the layer with our person, go in and choose an adjustment layer, and I'm going to choose hue and saturation again. Now, as we adjust the hue and saturation, you'll notice that a lot of crazy things start happening here. Now, let's say we wanted to just create something that was more like makeup. I'm going to choose a color. I'm going to bring it down, and we are just going to create some makeup effect for, say, the eyes. Again. So we're going to bring down the lightness. We're going to bring the saturation down so it's more just smoky. And yeah, there we go. Now, if we were to zoom out, well, that doesn't look so great. But what we want is just to paint on the areas that we want while maintaining the color everywhere else. So check this out. If I go down to my hue and saturation, the new adjustment layer, this is the mask layer, just like that is. But see, we don't have a mask. Everything is selected. That's why the whole picture is gray right now. If I go in and actually invert this with Command I, as in igloo, Command I, now we're back in full color, but I can paint on what I want. Notice how the mask is black. Choose my paintbrush, and I can paint on that color. So let's lower the opacity to maybe 50%. And I'm going to just paint on some of that. and there are those who probably are better at makeup and what it's supposed to be than I am. But I am just subtly trying to paint on some makeup on the tops of her eyes. A little eyeshadow here. And maybe I got crazy there, so I'm taking some of that off as well. And I can play around with that as much as I want to give her eyeshadow. So, with the eyeshadow on, without it, however I want. And the cool thing is, if I like that color, what I can do is add that color on, again with white, to the lips. If I wanted to just add that on here. And then do some maybe feathering just to make it look like it belongs a little bit more. So no feathering, and a little bit of feathering. Now it looks like she may have put that on herself as opposed to me. So with it, without it. We've given her a bit of a smoky feel. If I wanted to add that to her hair, I certainly could do that as well. We will just paint on to darken the hair again. Maybe take out some of the color that she's got. Although I kind of dig the color. But you'll notice I'm not using 100% opacity here. I'm using just about 50%, and then I'm covering the same area multiple times, and that gives me the ability just to add color, add to it. So I'm not trying to do it all with one pass. I'm just clicking and clicking and adding, just time after time until it is what I want it to be, until it looks the way that I want it to look. And so now what I've got is the original. Let's frame it up a little bit, and maybe the darker version of it. Okay, and that's how we can do some basic coloring with layers. Now, if I had more time or wanted to play around with it a little bit more, I could add a little bit of highlights to it, make it look more natural. But these are all part of the work you can do with masks and layers in Photoshop.